Hey, what's up gamers? How you doing? It's John. In this video, I want to recap my experience being a guest at the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo in Long Island, New York. The show is also known as LI Retro, and they celebrated their 10th anniversary. And I will say this couple things I want to say out before I show you some videos of the actual event itself. Super well organized. Definitely appreciate being invited as a guest. Had a panel, had a good turnout. A lot of people came up to me, recognized me, which is always an honor. Meeting, I don't even call them fans, whatever you want to call them. Super cool and super nice. And everyone that I interacted with in Long Island, super friendly. The first thing they asked was how you enjoying the area. And for those who've never been to New York or that area before, it's a very unique part of the country. And it's a really fun culture and amazing food. Pizza is on point for sure. And the hosts, the people who run it, super organized, well organized, and they have a great passion for retro games, and it is evident in attending this event. So Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, for those who may not be aware, it's probably the most unique venue that I've ever attended an event at. It's at an aviation museum. So not only are you shopping for games and playing games at a really cool spot, but you're like in a museum within a museum, because not only is it a really cool aviation museum, and you can find out really cool history about just the aviation in that area, which is pretty fascinating, but they also have an interactive museum for gaming, and they have over, I think, 300 CRTs and consoles set up. And let's take a look at the recap. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you again to the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo team for the invite. Had a blast. I hope to come back. And I have a unique perspective because I do my own show called Game on Expo in Phoenix. So I understand firsthand how much work goes into making an event like this happen. And I have mad respect for the team. They do an incredible job. So anyway, let's take a little closer look at my recap. Thanks for watching, guys. And in the recap, when you're watching the video, let me know if you spot any games that you think would be cool to check out. And leave a comment below. Let me know, and we'll take a closer look, guys. Let's check it out. Here it is, the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, August 8th through 10th, 2025. This video will be recapping the vendor hall. I'll do subsequent videos covering other aspects of the show, including the amazing museum I mentioned briefly before, with over 300 consoles. They had panel rooms, arcade, upstairs, 3 levels of just gaming delight, no better way to put it. And I encourage you, if you guys have never been to a gaming event before, I encourage you to check them out. Support your local gaming events. These are great opportunities to pick up amazing games, meet fantastic people, and really get some good deals. I usually wait till Sunday to pick up my deals because usually that's when the vendors are trying to close out. And you can see here just plenty of PlayStation 1, obviously a lot of NES, Super Nintendo, Saturn. I saw a ton here. Even TurboGrafx 16 on display with Atari Lynx and some Game Boy. I noticed a lot of modded Game Boys, which is really cool. Here are some PlayStation 2 games that I spotted, additional NES games. I'm not really looking for any particular NES game, to be honest with you. My collection, I'm not looking to complete my collection, but there's no particular NES game I'm really in the market for. What I really like to see are the homebrew games. Big supporter of those. Here's some PlayStation 1 games. Some Xbox 360. I spotted some Vita there briefly as well. Some Sega CD, Genesis, and here's some handhelds. Oh, there's a cool blue Game Gear. Sorry for the glare in some of these cases. Here's some PlayStation 4 games, and I saw a lot of Nintendo Switch. Nintendo Switch has really brought the excitement back into physical collecting for many collectors, which I think is really cool. And I spotted a lot of young gamers as well, which is awesome. People bringing family. This is a very family-friendly show, so it's really cool. And just talking to the vendors, really down to earth. There's a TurboGrafx 16. That guy there on that TurboGrafx 16 there, that orange box, reminds me of Zach Morris from Saved by the Bell. I don't know, it just looks like a lot like him. We got all these Sega CD games. Spotted Space Ace, Night Trap for the Sega CD 32X, though that yellow one. So I spot. This is cool vendor with shadow boxes was next door. That was awesome as well. I spotted E.T. for the Atari 2600 in that top shelf there. That was rated one of the worst games of all time, and that's unfortunate. It is not a great game, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't say it's the worst of all time. But it did come out right before the video game crash, so they blame it a lot on that. There's some 3DS games, some Switch. Here's some modded Game Boys I was talking about before, and I think that's really cool. If you don't have a Game Boy, definitely check out to get a modded one. What I mean by that is the backlit screen. It's just a lot crispier in terms of image, and just nice to have that backlit. I even saw original Game Boy that had Game Boy Color. Played Game Boy Color games, which is awesome. Same build as original Game Boy. Pokemon is obviously hot. Look at that, those box Nintendos at the top. But as I mentioned before, Pokemon's very popular. I saw a bunch of cards. I saw a bunch of plush. Some box Nintendo game boxes, which is fantastic. There's Guitar Hero Live for the Wii U. Action set, Odyssey 2. Just a lot of even old school, like going predating Atari, like Atari 2600 era. I saw a lot of different cool games. I think Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, in my opinion, nails down the retro really well. And so if you're into retro gaming like I am, this is definitely an event to check out. And to get to New York, to Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, I flew into JFK. Pretty good airport to fly in and out of in terms of a lot of flight options. And it's about a 40-minute Uber ride, just FYI, from there. This was a really cool vendor too. These are some hacks, some games that people take it and kind of change the game a little bit more. And I think there's really Super Nintendo, Genesis, Nintendo, and that's really cool. Like mods. There's a vendor. I was really impressed by their merch table. I'm definitely taking notes because they had a lot of cool merch, just designs on T-shirts and bags. They had a super large Nintendo 3D printed Nintendo cartridge, for example, which is awesome. This vendor here is Video Games in New York, and they had a bunch of vinyl from soundtracks from various games. They even had some cassette tapes there. I thought that was fantastic. They actually had an area as well where they're showcasing new games for classic platforms, including Dreamcast. I'll show that in a future video. You can check it out. And here, oh, Hannah Montana. Oh, that's awesome. Or no, that wasn't Hannah Montana. That was with the Olsen twins. Here's a cool guide. This is a new developer making a brand new Game Boy game. And see right there in the left there, some really cool old school cereal boxes. I saw anything from Urkel O's to C-3PO's, Smurfberry Crunch. I spotted some more box consoles. This vendor I bought and know him. He's a very good guy. He's been at Game On Expo before, and I bought a modded, not Super Nintendo. I bought a modded PlayStation 1 that's HDMI out. That also has what they call the X Station, so you can play it with SD cards and load games onto it. So I was super excited about that purchase. I've been looking for one of those for a while. Here are some more boxed Nintendo consoles. Really surprised at how many box Nintendo sets there were. And here's some boxed Super Nintendo games, including Primal Rage, Super Mario RPG, which is an amazing game, and I spotted Donkey Kong Country 3, I believe. Here's some more Game Boy games, some old school Nintendo merch. That was really cool. Some more modded Game Boy games, Game Boy Advance systems. That vendor also on the top right there, you can see they had some of the controllers for Switch that were classic controllers. Those go for like $100 plus. There was one vendor I spoke to. I was going to get something from him, and he took cash only, which was kind of disappointed, but it's all good, you know, it happens. But most vendors will take credit card or Venmo. Here is a bundle. They have these bins of just kind of cheap games, so you can always hunt through here. PlayStation 2. So many classic ones for that system, in my opinion. I love that Sonic Lost Worlds sign. That's pretty sweet. And this particular vendor was playing some old school like Kung Fu movies. There's an Urkel O's. Complete box, unopened by the way. It came out in 1992. It tastes very good. 33 years later. Kind of nasty to think about. Shout out to this vendor here. Super good dude. He hooked me up with a picture, which is very much appreciated. He had these really cool cards that you scan on his Mister, which is FPGA console, which is really sweet. And this vendor was really cool. This is the back. These vendors right here were in the back, so they're kind of split into two different areas of the show. So these vendors were in the back, and it was really laid out really nice. And really, again, I really enjoyed the natural lighting that you had here in this particular place. This was filmed, by the way, on Sunday afternoon. We did that intentionally because Saturday was packed. If there's anything about the show, it does get shoulder to shoulder packed because it's small space, a very popular show. But this particular vendor had a bunch of cool box ColecoVision games, things like that. Here's some various consoles as well. Original Xbox, I love that console. Some Pokemon. There's U-Force, a spot in the back there for Nintendo. Surprised to see a lot of Game Gear games, even some box ones. The Atari 2600s, there's some ColecoVision games, which that pulls on my heartstrings for sure, because I love the ColecoVision, speaking of which is a console right there. Here's some cool stuff. There's some LCD games, classic ones like Tiger games. Xbox. Oh, that's pretty good. 1942 for, I think there's $100 for that. That's a pretty good deal for that 1/6 playable scale. I was very impressed by that. Look at all these Switch games here. And even some box Super Nintendo games. Again, not really in the market for N64 or Super Nintendo games. To be honest, there's some games, if I spot it, I might pick it up, but I have a lot of the ones I have, that I enjoy. This is a cool vendor as well. Love the display. Really nicely done. And look at all these box ones here. That's really cool. Some Wii U games even N64. I noticed a lot of vendors put labels on N64 on the very top because there was no labels. They added some of their own labels, and noticed a lot of vendors started doing that. But this vendor was fantastic. One of my favorite vendors. He had some classic PC games and computers, and man, that was an amazing vendor. If I had the space to bring them back, I would have bought a classic Mac. I love those classic PC games and consoles or computers rather. Here's some more classic N64, some more Game Boy and Game Boy Advance. And look at that modded Super Nintendo and N64, fantastic. So this is a recap over the vendor hall at Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. I'll put in some videos here shortly on some other aspects of the show, including the museum. You don't want to miss that. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you guys soon. Take care, and of course, game on.